hearing or learning about. Or sometimes it's someone on our education team that comes up with an idea. And this one was really timely and I felt could be really helpful to many of our members. And it's all about the administration aspect tonight and the thought that you can be a board member. So perhaps you've been in your chorus for a year or perhaps much longer than that, and you've never served on the board. And it just seems to be that mystery. Okay, they meet once a month and do their thing, and I'm not really sure what they do. So tonight we're going to find out about that from some chorus presidents, treasurers, secretaries, and even a few very unique roles within Harmony Incorporated, which is fantastic. So we are going to start off tonight with our panel that we have, and they are each going to introduce themselves, and they're going to tell us a little bit about themselves, about their particular skill set, perhaps, maybe why they're in the role they're in, and it might be interesting to hear the journey some of them have made to come to where they are. We're going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. And if you think of questions throughout the evening, please either put them in the chat or put a hand up, or I'm not sure if you can private message me. But if it goes in the chat, I'm happy to ask it on your behalf throughout the evening, because this is a class by our Area 5 members for our Area 5 members. So without further delay, I would like to introduce Debbie Glenn, and she is the president of a chorus called Acapella Showcase.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I am Debbie Glenn. I am president of Acapella Showcase, and I forget what the questions were. My journey. I'm a health and safety coordinator, consultant, and a volunteer coordinator with workplace safety and prevention services. And the role of volunteer coordinator has placed me on many various boards throughout my career. I really love being on the board of directors of our chorus because I am in the thick of it. You know what's going on when you're on the board of directors. You have the ability to help affect change if you're on the board of directors. If you don't like the way things are going, elect somebody who's in the same thoughts lines as you are. I understand that I'm in a different situation from most people because we have a larger chorus. We have a lot of people to select from. So it's a little bit easier for me, I think, to put my hand up and say, yes, I'm going to do it, because it's not going to be a life sentence for me. I know it's just a short period of time. This is my third year, mind you, but I know that it's going to be an ongoing thing, and there's going to be changes. I'm fortunate that I had a great mentor when I took over the role as president. I had Sandy McCreary guiding my path for me, and she was our past president and most helpful. I think the one thing that helped me along the way is the fact that I recognize that I can't do everything, and that I surround myself with people who can. So I'm very fortunate that our board of directors, and because we're a larger chorus, we have more directors than maybe most, that they're all really, really brilliant at what they do. And they're not afraid to get their hands dirty and dig in. So yeah, it's a role that I've really enjoyed. Like I said, I think it brings me closer to the action. I believe everybody in the chorus should really spend a term at least on the board so they understand how the chorus is run and what it takes to run it. And that's it for me.
That's great. Thanks so much, Debbie, for starting us off. And next we'll go to Sheila from the Chord Spinners, president of the Chord Spinners. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, everyone. Can I go ditto? I said I was going to do that. No, Debbie made a lot of great comments. I've been president of the Chord Spinners, and I'm going to use the word forever. I joined in 2005, and I believe in 2008 or 9, I became the president, and I have been ever since. Nobody has wanted to be the president, but they have come forward with my little bit of coaxing and, well, just try it. Just see what happens. Not being president, a lot of them went on to be on the choreography, on with the costume designs, with music. I was able to get them to come on that way. So I felt good that way, that I had that little, and it also helped that if your granddaughter is there, she's easy to control and say, please do this, help me. And my daughter since has joined, and between the two of them, they've done a lot with membership. Michaela wrote a whole new book of the membership guides and everything for the cord spinners, which didn't ask her to do. She did it because she didn't like what we had written up. So she wanted to make it better, which was great. I love the fact that I can delegate. It makes me feel good that I can go to someone, especially if they're sitting on the fence. I can persuade them and say, okay, just help me with this. I'll help you as much as I can, but you've got people here that can help too. So do it, please. And I do a lot of begging because I don't want to be there alone. I want the help. I want everybody to help me. I want them to feel like they're a part of the cord spinners. With a cappella showcase, yeah, you got so many people. Right now we have 10 members, and we lost a lot of the ones that were doing things. So the ones that are still there actually have come and have started to pick up the slack, which I am so proud of all of them. And I think that's just great. Yeah, thumbs up to every one of them. It's been awesome. Now we're working on getting some more members. Other than that, they like that I go to the meetings and I do all that work. So if they're happy with that, I'm happy to do that and continue on this way for now. But there is a point coming that, yeah, there's going to be someone I'm going to be pushing and saying, you got to do this now. It's take your turn. My mentor was Sue Reed. Some of you knew her, some of you didn't. She has since passed away, and she was a phenomenal person. I learned a lot from her, and I still have books from her where she wrote things down for me that I've just, every once in a while I go and look, and I can hear Susan telling me, you're doing a good job, Sheila, just keep it up. Keep going after the ladies. They'll help you. So that's mine.
That's great, Sheila. Thank you so much. And one common thread I've heard so far is both folks have referred to mentors they've had. So it's really encouraging to know that if we step in, if we put forward our names to serve and we are elected, we're not on our own, all by ourselves. There's likely someone there who's done that role before, the immediate past president or past treasurer or what have you. And there's likely someone there who's going to be there to that we can check in with, that will want the best for us and will encourage us in our leadership. So thanks for mentioning that. I also love that you said it feels good when you're able to coax others into doing things, and perhaps it wasn't an administrative position, but it was something to do musically or visually, and that's fantastic. The influence that the president can have, to me, that is very encouraging. An influence for good, I should say. Now we'll go to Lizanne, who's in a bit of a unique situation because she sings in 2 choruses, I believe. Lizanne.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yes, I do sing in 2 choruses, Baytones Harmony Chorus and Nickel City Sound. So I've been with Baytones for, I have to look it up because I forgot, 7 years. Yeah, so I joined in 2015. And I just recently joined Nickel City Sound just this year. So I'm looking forward, and so we're going to competition, and that'll be really exciting. So yes, so when I joined, I was in the first year, I was asked to serve on the board, which I thought was a little unusual because I was brand new and I was just learning what harmony was all about. I had no idea. But yeah, somebody came up to me and coaxed me also. And I guess they saw something in me. And also because the Baytones are very, very engaging, and they were very welcoming to me. They made me feel so good when I joined. And almost every single member of the Baytones have served the board at some point. So they were just recycling, and so they were looking for fresh meat for sure. And yeah, so there was we have a VP position on our board, so I was asked to do that, so I did, and I did that for 2 years. And last year, our Wilma Stewart, excuse me, who was our treasurer, she had held the position for 15 years, something like that. And for some reason, nobody wanted the treasurer position ever. I guess they thought it was intimidating. So so Wilma came up to me and she asked me if I would take it. I was intimidated. I thought there is no way that I can be as efficient as Wilma. There's no way. Because my background is not in finance. I'm a translator. My head is languages. It's not numbers. I thought I can't do that. I had lots of experiences on boards, like a chair a board. I like that. I had no problem with the numbers. I can't do that. And but Wilma was my mentor, and she created a binder for me. She actually she helped me with the income tax, filing income taxes. She showed me how. It was a step-by-step process that she set up for me. It was amazing. And anytime I had a question, she was right there for me. So that was really instrumental for me. It was really key, and made the transition so much easier. So now I'm in my second year as the treasurer, and I'll probably do it again because I haven't convinced anybody to take the position. So I'll be doing it again. And our course is very small too. We're at 12 members now. So Sheila, I understand the challenge of finding people. Yeah, so that's me. And Sheila and Debbie, you both did really well there with your presentations. You made it easy for me to come in as number 3.
Excellent.
I also want to put in that Lisa-Ann also sits on the Area 5 Council as the quartet promotion person. I have seen Lisa-Ann grow immensely in this role, and I'm thrilled that she has remained as quartet promotion person.
Thank you, Nancy.
Great point. Thanks, Nancy. And now we're going to go to Nickel City Sound, and Rhoda, tell us a bit about what you're doing up there.
All righty. Well, I am with Nickel City Sound. I joined in 2007, and I had my first year of membership as plainly just singing. The second year, I became the catering coordinator, and I'm pretty sure I did that for a couple of years. But in my second year, or my third year, I was approached by the woman that was currently I'm not a secretary, I'm not a recording secretary, I am the corresponding secretary for the chorus. They're 2 different positions. And I was approached by Barb Booth. Some of you may remember Barb. She was going to accept the president's position, and she kind of knew that I had a very similar personality to her, and encouraged me to take on the role of corresponding secretary. So that was in 2009. I've been the corresponding secretary with Nickel City Sound for, I've just finished out my 12th year. I just about got out a couple of years ago, and then the pandemic struck. And we had already held our elections, and the young lady that took over the corresponding secretary position worked for the local school of medicine here. So because she was going to be so busy dealing with whatever it was with the pandemic, she had to step away from the chorus. So I never did get out. However, having said that, we're really trying to encourage somebody to step in, because I have said that I would not run this year. And unfortunately, the thing that everybody tells me is that I do the job so well that they think they can't do it. And that's not the case. I had somebody really good that she said, if you need any help, you know I'm going to be here to help you. And that's exactly how I feel. I'm not going anywhere. I just feel like it's time for me to step back and, you know, take a breath. But it's also good that somebody can learn this job while I'm there to give them a hand to learn it. Harmony Inc. has made it very easy to do this job. Not that it's a small job. In our chorus, it's quite a large job, but it's, you know, bits and pieces throughout the year, and it's certainly doable. Like the other ladies have said, I really encourage everybody to hold some position on the board. There are more than enough jobs to go around, and the more people to do the jobs, the easier it is for everybody. I think that's about it for now.
Thanks, Rhoda. Okay, and we're going to go to Judy. Hi, Judy. You have a
Hi,
couple of
everybody.
roles that you fulfill for us.
I do have many, and when you said 5 minutes, my harmony history is so long. I've tried to cram it all in so you just get a taste of how I ended up where I did, because I've been here for 44 years. And
Judy, you take the time you need, no problem.
well, it is probably pretty boring, but so I think my first opportunity to serve Harmony Incorporated was when I was fortunate enough to join the Association of Harmony Queens back in 1984. And it became apparent really quickly that they had trouble getting people to serve on their board. And so I took it upon myself to look at the job description and talk to my friend from my quartet into being the secretary, and I took on the chairman's role 2 years later. And part of the chairman's role was to look after the Harmony Queens travel fund. Subsequently, we ended up making that a separate position because it was a little bit involved for the chairman to do all of that. But basically, it involved just following some criteria, awarding funds to the choruses to bring queens to their shows, and keeping a financial accounting, just doing a simple report at the end of the year, money in, money out, and just, you know, keeping the membership informed as to how their money was being spent. So that was my first, you know, dipping of my toe into the financial things in Harmony Incorporated. It was pretty simple. I was singing with a chorus at the time, and so at some point, don't ask me when, we had a show and I volunteered to be the show treasurer. So again, single event, pretty simple, same sort of, you know, principles, just, you know, money in, money out, do a report at the end of the event, show the profit that we made, and then pass it over to the chapter treasurer. Then in 2008, I belonged to a chorus that was hosting AC&C back in the days when it wasn't centralized and every chorus had to take their turn. So I ended up volunteering to be the AC&C treasurer. That was a little bit more involved, but again, same principle, money in, money out, counting for it, backing it up with paperwork. And I got to learn a little bit more about Harmony Incorporated and its policies when I had to learn about paying judges, per diems and travel expenses and that kind of thing. So I got to know a little bit more about the organization there. The ACC chair that year also happened to be the area director, who's a member of my chorus. And she asked me after the AC&C event if I would consider being the Area 5 treasurer, because when Andrews, who had done it forever, it was time for her to retire and pass it on to someone else. So I took that on in 2008. And so I'm still doing it. It's one of those jobs, as I think it was Lizanne that said, is they don't like to let you go once they get you in the door. But I realized, that there are a lot of people that are really uncomfortable with doing that job. It doesn't take a lot of skill. It takes some abilities and some special focuses. But, if you can do simple math and you can be accountable, that's the most important part. So I do that position for Area 5 and I'm happy to do it. I love working with numbers. I enjoy doing the work. And so I'm happy to do it for as long as they need me. Then in 2013, when the Harmony Inc. executive treasurer position came up, I realized that, that job doesn't come open very often. And I was about 4 or 5 years away from retirement. I thought that would be a really good job for me in retirement when I have time and I need something to keep myself busy. And so I decided, even though I wasn't retired for a bit, that I would apply for that position. Unfortunately, the international president at the time knew of my experience with the Association of Harmony Queens and with Area 5. And of course, we had to submit an application with a resume. And so she appointed me to the position of, at that point in time, it was called executive treasurer. The name has changed a couple of times. I'm now called finance assistant, but the bottom line is that I'm the treasurer for Harmony Incorporated. So I've learned a lot about the organization. I attended the board meetings in person for the first 5 years, I think. And then the executive assistants were no longer required at the board table, but I still, I'm very active. My job is very autonomous. I don't work with other people like you do on your boards because it's a kind of a single person job. I do a lot of reporting to everybody, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't have a ton of interaction with other people. However, having a good understanding of how the organization works and what's going on a fairly regular basis, I am in a position where I feel I can help anybody on a board in our area who needs assistance, especially with their financial things. It can be a little bit confusing. We have the jot forms that you just fill in online and submit them, but sometimes when it comes to sending the money, it's a little confusing, especially if you're doing conversion from US to Canadian funds. And if you have trouble with electronic transfers, how to send your money, that kind of thing, I'm happy to help out with that. Kelly at the corporate office is really good with those kinds of things to help people too, but she's really busy, especially this time of year. I see all of your forms, any forms that involve money come across my desk. So I see them, I know what you're sending and why you're sending it. And if you have any questions after you've submitted it, you can feel free to reach out to me anytime and I'll try to help you sort through it, rather than waiting for Kelly to find time to respond to you. And my personal work kind of went the same way. I started out just doing the household finances. I was an executive secretary in my work life when I first started, and then I had twins when I was expecting to have only one baby. So I ended up leaving my job because I couldn't get good daycare, and I stayed at home for a couple of years and then ended up working part-time at an insurance brokerage doing administrative work just to be able to get out of the house. There wasn't enough work to keep me busy, so I took on the job of looking after the books for my boss's wife's daycare center. And I'd never done books before, but I just looked at what had been done, followed what had been done before, and taught myself basically how to do it. That evolved into me doing the bookkeeping for the insurance business, 3 different offices that we had. as well as working as a registered insurance broker. And then when my husband and I purchased a franchise, I got to see it from a retail point of view, and I was doing the books for that. So my personal foray into finance kind of took the same course as my Harmony foray into finance, which was starting small and then, getting a little bigger and a little bigger and a little more involved and a little more involved. And that's how you learn. Just by jumping in and trying. I didn't have all the answers, but I knew there were people that would, and I had every confidence that I could learn what I didn't know, and there were always people to help. And I think that's the key thing, is that if we, put ourselves out there to help the other people in our chapters, shadowing somebody is the absolute best thing. As a couple of you have mentioned, you've had mentors, and if you can have somebody that you can shadow in the position, it takes the scary part out of it, because you see that it's not really as hard as you might think it is. But there are certain things that I'll maybe get a chance to tell you about later that I think are strengths that people need in order to be able to do this job. But you don't have to be an accountant. I guess that's the main thing I want to tell you. So I think that's enough.
That's great, Judy. Thanks so much. And we've already had Lizanne mention what a great support you've been in her role, in the treasurer role. And Claire made a great point too, that if it'd be all right with you, if Nancy or someone lets the treasurers know in Area 5 that you are there as a resource and you're willing to, I'm sure you'd made that known before, but if we can just remind people that, that's a great resource for all of them if they're having any of those difficulties that you mentioned. So thank you for offering that. That's great.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Great. And now we're off to Nancy Flegel.
Hi, everyone. I guess I started back with the Thousand Islanders way back when I lived in Brockville, and I sat on their board. I was the treasurer for the board for a couple of years. And then when I moved to Toronto area, I was with the Toronto Accolades, and I think I was there a year, and they said, we think we'd like you to be president. And I went, what? So anyway, I know how hard it is to get volunteers, and, we all need to do our due diligence and support our organizations however we can. So I did sit as president, I think 4 years, and then became Joe Barbershopper for a couple of years. Then I went to Scarborough Harmony Chorus, and I don't think I was there a month, and I was on their board, so, did various roles with them as well. In the meantime, while I was at Toronto Accolades, decided, we need to have a change at the area director board, at the area director position. So I put my name forward, and have been sitting there for 4 years. As most of you know, I will be stepping down in November. So we will need somebody to fill that position. And I'm just looking at the people that are on here right now. And there's a few people on here right now that have all the skills. Every one of you have the skills to be able to do that. But there's a few in particular that have done president's roles and various other roles within their chapters that, maybe you should be putting your name forward for this. We do have to have somebody to lead the area who is passionate about the area. And we need that person to step forward. With chapters, it's important that you have a change on your board. You have to bring new blood in, new ideas. Your board will get stale. And it's the same at the area level. Yes, I can stay on for 2 more years if I chose to, but I think it's time that we need some fresh blood into the council, and to bring some new fresh ideas to the area. So, you're never alone. There's always somebody there to help you, always, whether it be, on your chapter level, you have the whole chorus to rely on. At the international board level, you have all of your other area directors that are there for a great source. We currently meet every 2 months, and it's a safe place where we can share our challenges and share our successes, and very similar to our president's meetings that we have with the area level. That's a safe place where we can share ideas, and it has been a godsend these last 2 years. So don't ever feel that you're alone. There's always, always, always someone there to back you up and to support you. So don't sit on the fence. Jump in with both feet, because that's what I did, and I've loved every minute of it. And that's about it.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Nancy. I will be asking if so far there haven't been any specific questions in the chat, but if you've thought of any, please make sure you raise your hand or put it in the chat. Someone prompted me with this, and it's a great question, asking how many of the attendees here tonight have not served on a chorus board of directors? And I'm going to put up my hand because I haven't, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I have not. I do a couple things in my chorus, but am I the only one? All right. Good
But
to know.
you do sit on the area council now.
Correct. Yes, I do. Because I was prompted very kindly, and I'm really glad that you did, Nancy. Thank you for that. Okay, and you never know, there may be people watching the recording of this that hear some of the great things that have been shared and might decide to dive in. So I'm just going to ask this in general to our panel, and you can just shout out your answers, whatever order you'd like. We'll leave it that way. What kinds of personal strengths are helpful to be successful in your position? What kinds of personal strengths are helpful to be successful in your position? And when you unmute, just remind us again what your position is, because we've been jumping around a little bit. Rhoda, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, I'm the corresponding secretary.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, there are really 2, maybe 3 things that are key to being able to do this position. The first one is you have to be organized. I'm a list maker. I live and breathe by lists. So you have to be organized. You have to be able to work independently, and you have to have some basic computer skills. That's really it.
Okay. Anyone else? Nancy.
I think the biggest thing is that you have to be open-minded and be able to accept other people's opinions that might not be the same as yours. I mean, there's quite often I go to that international board table, and the opinion that I am portraying to the rest of that international board is not my opinion. It's the opinion and the consensus that I'm getting from the members.
Right.
So you have to be open-minded, and you're sitting on the board as a representative of the membership. And that's one of the key things, is that you have to be open-minded and listen, just listen.
Excellent. Debbie, and then Judy.
I think one of the personality traits that you need to have, as Nancy said, is definitely you have to be able to listen. You have to be a good listener, because oftentimes I find that the members are telling you things, but you have to kind of read between the lines to get to what they're really worried about or talking about. I think you have to be a negotiator in some aspects. Again, we've got 70 people in our chorus, so it's a little different for us than it is for maybe some of the other choruses. You need to be a decent facilitator when it comes to meetings with more than 5 or 10 people.
Mm.
You have to be organized for sure. I know that I have areas that I still need to work on, and I would say maybe organization might be one of them. But fortunately, like I said, I've surrounded myself with people that are really good at keeping me on task and telling me where I'm supposed to be and kind of how to get there. But yeah, that's me.
Great. Thanks, Debbie. Judy and then Lizanne.
I think one of the most important things is to be a treasurer is you have to be detail oriented.
Mm.
And it helps to be a logical thinker. If you're not sure what you're doing or what the results of what you're doing are, you just have to be able to go back to know where to look to go back and see if the transaction that you did looks the way it should look. So does your expense account get higher when you write this check, and does your bank account get lower? You know, the obvious logical things. You have to be very transparent and not feel put upon to be that. You have to be willing to be very transparent because you're looking after other people's money and you want them to feel that it's safe in your hands. And if you do your job in a timely basis and keep on top of things, and your members can see that you're doing that, they're going to feel confident in you as a person looking after their money, and they're going to feel like you're looking after their chorus properly. So, you know, to let things pile up and not be able to give people up to date information is doesn't inspire them with confidence. So, you know, it's important that you do things in a timely fashion. And again, you know, also organization. It's really important to make sure you have records, you back up everything that you do, every disbursement that you make, with a request for payment, and if your course uses that, and definitely an invoice that shows. So at any point in time, somebody can go and look at what you've done and say, yes, yes, that looks legitimate, that's legitimate, that's legitimate. And of course, everything has to reconcile. You have to make sure that your opening balance plus your deposits minus your disbursements equal the closing balance. And, you know, you'd be surprised at how many treasurers in small situations I've seen that just don't understand that concept. But it's pretty basic. If you want to be believable, it all has to reconcile. And the big thing is that, you know, as I understand it from another class that we did, almost all of you use accounting software. So you need to be able to learn that software. It's not really difficult. Again, it's if you're a logical thinker, you can probably figure it out for yourself, but hopefully you will have a mentor that will help you through that. And once you do that, if you do the data entry properly, it does the rest of the work for you. It's just amazing what the programs can do. It can look after all of your members, you know, the money that you're collecting from your members, and allow you to print out statements for them, allow you to track, you know, if they're overdue in their payments, and send them things by email, give them receipts that way, as well as just produce a report for your chorus in a matter of minutes. And you can customize those reports to whatever part of your finances they're interested in seeing. So it really is an amazing thing. And again, it's not really that difficult to learn, but you have to have, you know, a little bit of computer skill to be able to do that. And I would really like to encourage you to get out there and attempt to do some of these positions on your boards, because I was in a chorus where it was the same small group of people year after year after year that held the positions, and they got tired because other people were just allowing that small group to continue doing it. They weren't putting their names forward, whether they were nervous or whether it was just easier to let someone else do it. And eventually the chorus folded. I mean, they were a nice singing chorus and a lovely, lovely bunch of women. But, you know, the group that was running it just said, we can't do this anymore. We need a break. And nobody was willing to step forward. And so, you know, they all ended up losing their chorus because of it. And you don't want to see that happen. So in the small groups, especially where you don't have many people to draw from, it's really important that you know, give it a shot. If it ends up not being your thing, then, you don't do another term, but you might find out you love it and be there for 35 years.
Great. Thanks, Judy. Lizanne.
Judy, that was such a good description of the treasurer's position. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And as Judy said, I mean, in the position, this particular position, I guess any position on the board, you need to be organized, and especially maybe the treasurers and the corresponding secretary position detail is very important. So, and I know, and for a lot of people, computer, technical software skills, it can be an issue. As Judy mentioned, there is software that, the treasurer uses. What really helped me was that the former treasurer had created the spreadsheet. She created the formulas. She did everything. She had every form imaginable. All I had to do was copy what she had done, and I didn't change anything. I thought, I'm not going to reinvent this wheel. It's working for us. She's very, she was transparent. She was everything you described a treasurer should be. She was. So I thought, she's done such a good job. I'm just going to do what she did. And so that really helped me, and it made made me feel a whole lot more comfortable in the position. I'd also like to add, I think if you're on a board, as long as you remember what your common goal is. So what is the chorus striving for? Like, do we want to keep singing together? Do we want to keep being, a chapter, a functional chorus? And if the answer is yes, then people have to commit to stepping up to these positions and helping the chorus get to wherever the chorus wants to be, whether it's like fundraising, trying to get more members, whatever it is. It is a commitment. So I'm not going to lie. I mean, it takes some time. It does. But if you keep that common focus in mind, you're doing it because you love to sing with your chorus. That's why you're doing it. So, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Lizanne. And she's mentioned a really important point that I've said several times, and it's been said to me. Regardless of how much we respect, love, honor, support our artistic directors, our musical directors, if we don't have a administrative board of directors, there won't be a chorus. So we definitely need the people to step in and be willing to do that. Barbara, I saw your hand was up. Did you want to add something?
Yes, I did. But Lisanne said what I was going to say, and that is that commitment is very important. Regardless of the position you're in, you have to be committed. Plus, when you go to board meetings, you have to be prepared. So, read up, make sure that you are well prepared for all the points coming up. And that will make a board meeting run so much smoother.
That's a great point. And even mentioning about attending board meetings and being prepared, most choruses, if not all, are likely holding their regular board meetings on Zoom these days. And I know of some choruses that intend to continue with that practice because it's so much more convenient for everyone. So I know that used to be an issue. People say, oh, I don't want to drive, 45 minutes to a board meeting. But if you can Zoom into it, that's a pretty big plus. Were there other comments and questions before we go on? Just looking around to see. No? Okay. I think we're nearing the 8 o'clock hour. So I'll throw in another question. We've talked a lot about service and service to harmony and service to our choruses. And that's fantastic. Of course, this is what we're talking about. But I want my panel, or actually, I'll open this to everyone here because it sounds like everyone's had an experience on a board, which is fantastic. Can you share something that you learned, or maybe it's a skill that you developed during your time serving on the board that you might not have learned, or maybe it's a skill that you wouldn't have developed otherwise? So in other words, when I served as president, I grew this way, or I learned this about myself, or I developed this skill, that if I hadn't stepped into that role, I wouldn't have had that personal growth or that skill growth or skill development. Is there anyone that would like to speak to that?
I could.
Claire, thanks.
Yeah, board meetings are or board positions are definitely not something that it's going to lower my hand, that I would have ran to the finish line for, because it's not it's not my bag. I didn't think it was my bag. I'm not entirely sure it still is, but it's not something that really interests me. I'm more the music team side of things, more about the music, the singing, not how things are run. I would always just rely on someone else to do that. And I mean, so far I have been, I can't remember, I think I was recording secretary once a very, very long time ago. But now I'm, since my return back to Nickel City Sound, I've done the VP Music, which is, I don't know if every chorus has it, but it's a liaison between the board and the music team. So we try to make our meetings within a week of each other, or sometimes even within a day of each other. So that if there's anything the music team would like to present to the board, or the board needs to answer the music team from the time before, that position was pretty good. I did enjoy that because I had a little bit of the music team part as well. And then our position for president came up, and it was like there was no, I don't say I won by default. That sounds terrible, but I mean there was nobody to do it. So I thought, well, I'll kind of just jump in, and I've surprised myself as to how, I don't want to say how much I enjoy it. Let's not get all too excited here. I see Wendy Wright thinking, oh yeah, I told you you'd like it. But I have found myself able to chair meetings now that I didn't think I could do, because I didn't know the right, do I need to call for a, I still didn't even know the words, call for this to be, passed, and call for this to be voted upon. And I just don't always know all the right things to say, but I have a really good past president, which is now our parliamentarian for Area 5. And that's Jean. And she's just so awesome and helpful. So I didn't think I'd be able to do this, but I'm going to do it another year anyways, and see, because I think it's a good to know what's going on. And then I can encourage someone else that maybe is a little bit on the fence about, well, is this really my bag? Yeah, it could be. So I think I think that's a good thing, something that I found out.
That's great, Claire. Thanks so much. Sheila, and then I also see Debbie and Barbara.
Okay, one of the biggest things I've had to learn is to accept criticism from the chorus members and be a referee. Those are two things that I don't handle very good myself. So to have to stand there and listen to two people nattering at each other over, and it's sometimes just a little thing, but to just take them aside and sit them down and say, okay, breathe, first of all, think about what you're saying, and then tell me. Do not tell each other. You need to talk to me now and let me try and smooth the waters. And that was really hard for me to do. I haven't had to in a long time, but at one point, yeah, there was some really bad feelings going on, and you just sat there and you went, oh, really? Like, okay, we're supposed to be grown-ups and not children. So accepting criticism on what my job I was doing, and understanding that they're doing it because they're helping me, to see that, okay, you went the wrong way, Sheila. We're trying to bring you back where you belong. And have learned a lot from that, and I've really appreciated the help that everyone has given me. And then being a referee, yeah, that's hard sometimes, because you don't want to lose your friendship with either one, but somebody's not right. It has to be either you have to agree or agree to disagree, and that's a hard thing to do, I think, in any chorus, no matter how big you are and how small. So
Thanks for sharing that, Sheila. It sounds like it was good that you were willing to put yourself out there as that mediator, and you learned as you went through those situations, and that's fantastic. Debbie, and then Barbara.
I have to agree with Sheila. Sometimes being the referee is one of the hardest jobs. As far as a challenge, the biggest challenge I think I had was personalities, because we have very, very strong personalities on our board and everybody's right. The thing that I've learned, well, at least I'm in the process of learning, I'm working on, is my role as president is different from my role as chorus member. So if we get into a very heated argument at the board meeting over something, you have to leave it at the board meeting. You can't bring it to chorus. You've got to just let it go and move on. And that it can be a real challenge, especially when you do have such strong personalities that you work with. Like I said, I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. The other thing that I've learned, again, it's a work in process because of my personality, is not to just say the first thing that comes to my mind, because sometimes it's not the most polite. So I've learned to bite my tongue, think about my response before I blurt it out. And that would be a definite learning for me that I'm sure is going to come in handy in other aspects of my life. When I retired from my workplace, my one boss said that he was disappointed to see me go because he never had to guess where I stood on any issue. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but there you have it. So that's my challenge, and my learning would be working with people.
That's great, Debbie. And I'm sure no one else experiences having strong personalities on their board of directors. Like, we corner the market. Yeah, no, I'm sure that exists throughout. Thanks for being so honest. Barbara.
Yes, I just wanted to say I've been the president in other organizations in the past, but what I've learned from my work within Sugartones is that it's important that you are prepared yourself. So when I do the agenda, but I also ask for background information to each point so that everybody gets that ahead of time. So certain points on the agenda, we don't even need to discuss because we already have the answers in that will then come into the minutes. So that's my 2 cents of being prepared.
Good. I'm not sure if there were I don't see other hands, and that's okay. So just before we sign off for the evening and the class, I'll direct this to our panel, or maybe again to any of our attendees. If there's someone in your chorus that's sitting on the fence about putting their name forward to serve, what would you say to them to try to convince them? So if you're a panel member, I'll throw that out to you first. But if you're attending tonight and you're thinking of how you can affect some change in your chorus, maybe you've come up with something tonight of a way something you could say to a member in your chorus. You're sitting on the fence. Get off the fence. What might you say or do? I won't ask what you'll do. What would you say? We'll go to, let's see, Nancy first, please.
I think sometimes people just have to be asked. People aren't going to volunteer to be a volunteer. The very rare person like myself might do that, but 9 times out of 10, if you ask somebody to fill a position, they're gonna fill it. And I mean, I can look at 3 or 4 people on this Zoom call right now that would have never put their name forward for the positions that they're in now unless they were asked to be. Just ask.
Thanks, Nancy. That's a great point. Lizanne. Oh, and I need someone to go after. I see Lizanne. I see Debbie's hand. I'm going to need someone else because Debbie, can't get the last word. Just saying. Lizanne.
I'll make it quick.
It's okay.
I just want to say, like, Nancy, okay, this is a good example about asking people, because I was filling in, I was going to the area council meetings with our president, and I had been to 2 meetings. At the second meeting, Nancy approached me for the quartet promotion coordinator position, and I was like, I can't do that. So anyway, so you have to ask people, absolutely, and you have to do what was done to me repeatedly in a very nice way. Say, oh, you'd be so good. Like, just flatter people. Just, oh, you'd be so good at this position. I really see these skills in you and these, excuse me, these qualities in you, and you would really be good. So.
That's great. Thanks, Lizanne. Debbie, and then Judy.
I think that if I were to approach somebody who was having issues, first of all, I would tell them how easy the meetings are now that we're on Zoom. And we will never do anything other than Zoom, I don't think, for board meetings, unless it's a celebration and we're going out and there's food involved. I also think that they should know that it's not as scary as it sounds. There's a lot of people that can help you with whatever position you are looking at participating in. There's always somebody that can help you. And I always try and encourage my board members to realize that they're not alone in that role, that we've got 70 members, 10 of which might be on the board. There's 60 other members out there that can help you with whatever it is that you're going to do. So if you need somebody to help you with whatever the task is, just ask. Like Nancy said, I think, or somebody said, just ask, because everybody's willing to help. They're just not sure what they're supposed to do. And if you just ask them, then a lot of times they're going to say, yeah, I can do that, no problem. But it's really not, it's not a scary role. And I have to say that although I'm looking forward to having my role of past president this next term, I'll probably take some time, but I would definitely throw my hat in the ring again.
Very good. Thanks so much, Debbie. Judy.
I think she's gone.
Yeah, basically,
Oh, there she is.
everything I was going to say, which was to instill some confidence in people by telling them that you believe that they have what it takes to do the job. Because a lot of times people hold back because they think that they don't know what they're doing, and they think that they're going to be all alone in it. And if you can make them understand that there are people there to mentor them, and that you have the confidence in them, sometimes that's all the push that they need to step up and give it a try. And if you have people who are really on the fence, but you think you might be able to recruit for a later year, you could always ask them to shadow somebody. Ask them to voluntarily attend some of your meetings so that they get a feel for what happens, and maybe some of the fear will be taken out of being on the board if they see that we're just a bunch of ordinary women that are doing work for your chapter, and that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do it.
I've noticed that we have a couple of associates on this call as well, and I just want to make sure that they know that they are more than welcome to run for any type of position on the area council. You are a huge part of this organization, and sometimes you're overlooked, and sometimes I think that you don't feel you can run for these positions, but please put your hat name in for positions that are coming up.
That's great, Nancy. Thank you. So I don't see any other hands, but I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight and being a part of the discussion. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, I'm sure that we've all heard something that we can bring back to our chapters and use to encourage people that we're chatting to, and maybe have some different techniques for encouraging people to put their names forward and consider serving. I really like that idea of shadowing if they're not absolutely ready this spring, this month to do it. You know, maybe they're going to start shadowing and commit to attending some meetings. That's fantastic. So thank you everyone tonight for coming, and have a great night. And next month, before you go, since you're here, you get to hear who's coming next month. We have a special class with Sandy Wright, who I've been back and forth with today, and she's going to do a class on performance for us, getting back into performance after COVID, and things like performing in a mask and performing when we haven't performed in a couple of years. So it's going to be an excellent session. More to come on that. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Awesome.
Night.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.